Man catcher. No, this isn't some crazy medieval device meant to catch a fella for a lady in waiting. It's a horrific late 18th century weapon used to literally catch a man. Man catchers were designed in such a way that a two-pronged spring-loaded door was used to wrap around a person's head, pull them from horseback to the ground, and pin them down. Ideally, these weren't designed to kill, but to imprison in a painful way. Man catchers were used to grab noblemen on horseback for potential ransom, but, given the spikes that would wrap around the neck, a violent grab could result in maiming the target. There have been variations of the device found from various eras all over the world, with the modern equivalent being simply a loop on the end of a stick. Cluster bombs. Cluster bombs are devastating weapons from the 20th century that come in a number of configurations as produced by various militaries. At their most basic, a cluster bomb is any type of weapon that separates into smaller explosive devices that are spread over a large area. In principle, depending on the size of the weapon, hundreds of small bomblets could be dropped indiscriminately over an area. Thanks to faulty engineering, these often have somewhere between a 2% and 20% failure rate. The failure rate refers to the bomblet's inability to explode, which means that a large number of small bombs may land without detonating. Like landmines, these are left for people to find. As a result of their penchant for leaving small unexploded bombs all over the countryside for kids to find, more than 118 states have ratified the Convention on Cluster Munitions, banning the devices from use. Morning Star. Popular during medieval times, a morning star qualifies as any weapon that used a spiked mace either at the head of a club or at the end of a chain like the one pictured, technically called a flail. These weapons were designed for one main purpose: to kill the enemy in a devastating way. The concept of the club was nothing new when people started putting spikes on the end of them, but the reasons for adding them had as much to do with inflicting terror as with inflicting damage. Getting hit with one of these weapons meant having to deal with a crushing injury, as well as at least one puncture wound. Anyone who was well trained could probably smack an enemy in the head, which would almost always be fatal. But getting hit in the chest, back, arms, or legs might not lead to death right away. Like any weapon featuring a heavy metal device at the end, most people couldn't use these accurately unless they were well trained and very strong. Their use in warfare was brutal, and often came with a rather menacing opponent. Landmines. There are hundreds of types of landmines planted all over the world, though most countries have banned them from use. In warfare, a landmine is meant to act as a deterrent. Simply placing a sign near a field indicating the existence of landmines means that anyone who sees it will either go around or spend countless hours navigating the field in an attempt to avoid or clear the mines, even if none are actually present. The sad reality of landmines is that the majority of people affected by them aren't the armies who deploy them, but civilians who find them years after a battle has ended. Thousands upon thousands of landmines have gone unaccounted for at the conclusion of whatever war they were meant for. Occasionally, these will be set off by wild game, but, sadly, many children find them and set them off by accident. In most cases, landmines aren't powerful enough to kill, but are more than capable of damaging and destroying limbs. The result is a terrifying 15,000 to 20,000 people maimed or killed by missing landmines every year. There are various organizations intent on banning the use of landmines worldwide, and every year efforts are made to successfully remove thousands of buried landmines. Boiling oil. If you are ever in a castle under siege, you might grab whatever is lying around and chuck it down on the invaders, rocks, pebbles, and maybe even your dead buddy if they are heavy enough to cause some damage. Then there's the giant vat of boiling oil you could throw that over and see what happens. Boiling oil was used throughout siege warfare and its effect were devastating. While some lucky warriors were killed quickly by getting hit with enough oil to do the trick, most people survived but were horrifically burned and mutilated. The effects of this sort of injury were lasting and often resulted in a long, drawn-out death thanks to devastating levels of pain and infection caused by the burns. Dropping scalding weapons on invading forces has been used since at least the 8th century BC. While oil was sometimes used, it was an expensive commodity, so it wasn't the only item dropped on people. Other ammunition included hot pitch, resin, sand, and animal fat. Whatever the heated element used, it would invariably cause severe injury or death to anyone unfortunate enough to receive the delivery. Mustard gas. While there are dozens of types of gases and nerve agents that are considered brutal, and they all are the one that got the most use in warfare and caused the most traumatic deformities was mustard gas. A gas is a type of chemical weapon used in warfare since World War I. The gas is a blistering agent, meaning it causes severe burns and blisters on exposed skin. These wounds often scar the body permanently, making it both a brutal physical weapon but also an effective form of psychological attack. Anyone who knows the effects and finds themselves within a cloud of yellow-orange mist will likely be overcome with terror. Exposure isn't necessarily lethal, but the physical deformities caused by it were useful in warfare due to the need to remove victims from the battlefield. Most effects were permanent, and those exposed were at much higher risk of developing cancer thanks to the mutagenic nature of the gas. It damages DNA, which can lead to all sorts of problems. There are several types of chemical weapons classified as mustard gas, but they are all regulated by the 1993 Chemical Weapons Convention. Though they were often used in warfare throughout the 20th century, modern governments have mostly accepted that their use in combat is cruel and have thus banned the gases. Civil War Bayonet. Civil War Bayonet. Blunderbuss. Blunderbuss. Caltrop. Caltrop. Nest of bees. Nest of bees. Urumi. Urumi. Arrows shot from a longbow. Arrows shot from a longbow.
Hey guys, thank you so much for the support and likes and comments down below, and also thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to see you in the next video. Then take care, bye.